back on day 2 of this project. Just checking this piece of handle material here. It's pretty hefty at this point, but I'm just checking that epoxy and it is plasticky hard, so I can only assume that everything cured up beautifully. It feels super dense. Everything feels rock solid. Actually more solid than I figured. Everything is beautiful. I don't think this would be bad to work on. So of course we've disassembled that knife and we've hand sanded those parts all individually, so the whole handle is all polished there now, including the blade, which just had like a satin, maybe an 800 satin finish before. It is now polished and looking beautiful. Now if you recall, we also took a pen blank of fine line spalted maple burl. We cut that in half and we put in a piece of purple and a piece of white micarta. It's pretty subtle there now, but it'll come out, definitely stand out more later on. The last thing we did was epoxy on 2 sheets of 1/16 brass. Now what we've got to do is plane down these 2 dimensions here, those 2 flats, so we have a nice piece of material that we can mark out our new scales on. This is going to be our scales. Might be hard to see it right now, but it'll all come into play once we get going here. So as you can see, it's looking pretty tidy there, but before I separate these 2 halves, I am going to lap down the back of this brass because we want that nice and flat before we cut it. It's going to be easier to grab onto right now and lap it down than it will be after. Okay, so here is one scale here. Now you can see when I was about to cut the other piece that it broke there, so I re-glued it up. I cleaned it up, re-sanded that face, and I carved a bunch of real rough spots in there. I even drilled some holes down the center of the brass so the epoxy could come up through. When I had a look at it, it looked like a fairly dry joint, drier than it should be. So yeah, we're retrying. I tried flexing on this one a little bit. It's not moving, so this one seems to be completely fine. If it breaks during processing here now, then we'll do the same thing. We'll re-glue this one up in a little bit different way, but this one seems to be just fine. Now I did cut a few little pieces of wooden dowel and used a bit of cyanoacrylate just for an instant fix, because I need to be able to hold this face here to the belt sander now to mill this down, and then we're going to have to hand sand it as well on a flat surface to get it down to our final thickness before we cut out the perimeter of that scale. So that's what I'm going to do now. This is we're starting to get into the real precise work here now. Okay, we're at what I would consider here now to be the most daunting part of the project, and that is getting those holes and everything perfect. That is not an easy task. Not a lot of room for error here. So let's line everything up. I don't have any double-sided tape. I wish I did, but I don't. So I have got to hold everything perfect. Got a brand new drill bit in here. Okay, so that's the first hole. So you can see here now we have those 3 holes perfectly lined up. Remember that pocket clip is not going back in there, so we don't have to worry about that. punch straight through, and then with those couple little set screws holding everything in place, I could trace perfectly around the scale there with a mechanical pencil. Got the perfect fine line. Now we need to carve that out as perfect as possible, because that's going to be our final dimension. Now after hand sanding, here's what we have. So all those chamfers are taken off. It's nice and clean, smooth. It's up to 800 grit here. Looking real good, but there's no polish on it yet. So we're going to throw it on the buffer right now. Already got those holes drilled, of course. Got them chamfered out inside for the head of the screw to recess. And then, yeah, we're just going to give it a little buffing. And here is where that stabilized wood really comes to life. And there it is, the finished product. I didn't show you guys the reassembly just because it went kind of fast and I was just adjusting and tinkering with it there. So just time got away from me. I wanted to get this project done, but of course you saw me just assemble it. Most of you guys have assembled knives and cleaning and stuff, so nothing special there. But just have a look. We have that fine line spalted maple burl. We have the purple and the white micarta. Notice the white kind of catches your eye and draws you to the purple there. And then of course we have those brass strips there in against the tang. The whole thing is polished. Ooh, that looks good. Nice choices for the materials and design by the owner. Lovely. Feels great. It's flipping great, just like it was in the beginning. Hope you like it. If you do, hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching and following along on this little project here. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, if you want to check out some more content like this. We'll see you in the next video, guys.